Hello everyone and welcome back to another video on the channel. As you see, we are playing Kerbal Space Program, and if you're like, what is Kerbal Space Program? I'll read you a thing it says on the Steam page. It says, in Kerbal Space Program, take charge of the space program for the alien race known as the Kerbals. You have access to an array of parts to assemble fully functional spacecraft that flies, or doesn't, based on realistic aerodynamic and orbital physics. Launch your Kerbal crew into orbit and beyond while keeping them alive to explore moons and planets in the Kerbal solar system, constructing bases and space stations to expand the reach of your expedition. Kerbal Space Program features 3 gameplay modes. In Science Mode, perform space experiments to learn new technology and advance the knowledge of Kerbal Time. In Career Mode, oversee every aspect of the space program, including construction, strategy, funding, upgrades, and more. And Sandbox, you are free to build any spacecraft you can think of all parts and technology in the game. And there was more here, but I just wanted to read you that. And I feel like this is a pretty big, popular gamer. At least once was, and also considering there's 94,965 reviews on Steam, and it's overwhelmingly positive, with 95% of those rating it as positive. So, seems to be a big enough game, a big game. But yeah, anyways, let's start with the game though. There's that brings you out of the game, okay. Add-ons. Okay, these things just bring you out of the game, I guess. Here's credits if you want to see credits right away from the beginning. But yeah. I feel like there's a lot of settings in this game, like... There's a lot to all of these, like... Oh my gosh. Yeah, there's just, yeah, there's certainly some settings here. Oh my gosh, and look at all these inputs. I guess you can play it with a controller? Yeah, but there's that. And then I guess we'll just do it on, with the game though. Probably should do some training. Just look at all these things. Then story and basic construction. This tutorial presented by famous rocket scientist Werner von Terman himself covers the basics of rocket construction in the vehicle assembly building. He's waiting for you down there and is always in high demand. Don't dally. Don't dilly while you dally. Well, this seems loud. Welcome to today's lecture on vessel construction. I'm Werner von Terman. Is that supposed to be not like Werner von Braun or something from like it was maybe one of the Nazis in World War II that the US took in Operation Paperclip, if I'm correct about that. Whether you want to put a satellite into orbit, make a transcontinental flight, or step onto the very surface of the moon, you don't need to build yourself a ship. It should be pretty easy, even if you're not a famous rocket scientist like myself. I definitely want to adjust. I mean, this is like... Would that be ambience? Would ambience be the thing taken up by... Oh yeah, I guess. In this tutorial, I will first show you around the Kerbal Space Center, then take you into the vehicle assembly building where you learn how to construct a simple ship, whatever adding or moving parts, what the parts do, how to change the performance settings of the parts, which have that option, how to control staging. At the end of the tutorial, you will have a craft fit for a twit top from the launch pad. In each step, I will let all the controls other than the ones you need for that step. If you still manage to mess up, it took even me some time to become as still as I am now. You can press the back button to go back and fix things. It won't let up unless you do mess up. Wow, I feel this is to be a big game, even like RimWorld, man, where I won't have nearly enough time to go through all the stuff and show you everything in this game. But hopefully I do good and enough is shown for the time that I have this video. This video was on. I'll tell you, we run down how to get around the TSC for short, Kerbal Space Center, whatever is home. The pinnacle of Turbo Endeavor and achievements for the space exploration. Using the facilities you can see here, you will be able to manage your space program, track rockets and planes, track your Turbo Explorers as they roam the solar system, find slightly new uses for explosive substances, and take some emergency, hire more Kerbals. Find out about each of the facilities. You should hover your mouse over them with the facilities button. They show up in their cursors outside the window. If you need to repair a structure or upgrade them in career, you can do this by right-clicking them. Take some time to hover the mouse over the buildings and see what they each are. When you're right, enter the vehicle assembly building. Research and development, tracking station, launch pad, vehicle, mission control, space plan. I don't want to read all these things. And there seems like there's too much in this game. Too much in this game. Very good. What you see in the middle of the screen, is the construction area. This is where parts are placed and your craft is constructed. On the left side of the screen is the parts toolbox. It will show all the parts you have available in each of the different categories. Once there are any to pick, that is. If you want your craft to be controllable, you need a command module, and it's best to make it the first part you place. This part will either contain some plucky turbo crew or an automated pilot mechanism. We're just starting, there's only one choice. Go ahead and put the command module from the pods tab. Oh my gosh, I feel like this game is way too much and complicated for me. On the over to camera, arrow keys or right mouse drags, move the camera up and down, zoom the camera, okay. If you'd like your pilot to be able to make more than one flight, he or she will have to return safely to the ground or water on turbine. Parachutes are a simple way to make sure that happens. They can be found in the utility tab. Change tabs by clicking near the icons on the left of the part list window. When you're choosing parts, you can view the details of available parts by hovering over them in the toolbox. When the info is visible, most parts have an additional information window which can be opened with a right click. Note that the parachute states the effective diameter in each state and what the maximum safe speed for deployment is. Go ahead and select the MT-16 parachute by left-clicking on it, and move it to the top of the command pod so that the green spear at the bottom of the parachute lines with the green spear at the top of the pod. Oh my gosh. So much reading! Oh my gosh. Some parts of the parachutes here have configurable options. To see this, we need to right click on the parachute. Yep. We just attach to that and you see the available parameters. The parachute is to be adjust our altitude and atmospheric pressure, which to open is assigned to be quite useful on distant worlds. For now, let's check the opening height in the chute is at least 1,000 meters, because safety is a turbo way after all. For the minimum pressure slide, move it to a bit to the right at 0.2. The same prevents the chute from activating. The atmospheric pressure is above the Tom figure value. On turbine, 0.2 is about 9 kilometers in altitude, so even if you stage early, Arm the parachute and will wait until then to activate. You can hide these options for right-clicking on the background scene. But I have heard. Oh, excuse me. When you're happy, wow. And stuff, we're going to need something to make this go. To turn the engines tab. The engines tab enough to show the available engines. Grab on to the bottom of the pod. You may need to. Yeah. To be able to do so. So if you're not, you're just starting out. You're not a famous rocket scientist, and to make the trapped survival as it stands right now, you have to be better at rocket science than me. Ha! Impossible. The problem with the trap is that the solid rocket is too powerful for the payload. So no small pod and shoot, it would either burn up on the ascent from going too fast or burn up coming down. Even if you survived at the trap's mass, but also to fall too fast for the parachute to operate properly, and you hit the surface before it can stop you. Okay, I promise to teach you how to change that to make it work in a later tutorial, but for now let's continue. Well, at least this way I need to tell you about removing parts, but the something or just press delete. Instead, let's add a solid motor that's a better match for a ship of the size. As a starting tree, you would have what I consider rubbish parts. Literally, the motor here looks like it maybe will be a converted trash can. That does have enough oomph to get this little trap moving style where it put intuitively as you probably should be able to unlock more engines and other parts. For now, let's put the RT by Fili and connect it to the bottom of the pod. Okay, well, where is... Okay, it's in engines. Considered by some to be a little more than a trash bin full of boom, the RT-5 can be seen in use at many space programs, perhaps possibly because it's the only option for many space programs. But nonetheless, the small booster provides a nice kit to lift small payloads to considerable heights. Use of caution though, once lit, solid fuel motors cannot be put out until the fuel runs out. The staging stat. Nice one. You built the simplest survivable craft possible. We can launch this right now, but maybe safer to explain one other thing first. In the bottom right, you will see the staging stat. It's the button. It's the box with the number 0 and icons. For the parachute and engine in it, the stat shows us what parts will be activated as we stage our rocket. What this shows is that when we activate the next stage, both the engine and the parachute will be triggered. While it typically considered funny to open the chute and fire the motor at the same time, it's not going to give you much of a flight. To fix this, we need to separate the engine and chute into two stages. If you mouse over the 0 stage, you will see a little plus and minus appear to the left of the box. And click the plus button to add a new stage. If you add too many, click the minus button and the extra one is removed, and make sure you have precisely 2 stages. Excellent. It's important to note that the stages activate from the highest number and then count down. So our first stage will be stage 1. The engine, our second will be the engine icon from stage 0 down to stage 1, yes. Same for later, that's it, we now have a safe, well, relatively safe trap that's ready to go. Let's make sure that if we need this design later, then we don't have to build it all from scratch. On top of the screen, you will see the name for our craft. I'll tell you, space craft doesn't seem so majestic. Why don't you change that to be something more your style? You can add a description if you like to. When you use the load screens later, these names and descriptions help you grab the right vessel. When you're happy to name, wow. Penguin flight. Excellent work! Feel free to play around with the parts and techniques I've shown you. When you're ready to continue, press the red button upper right to exit. Back to the train menu, turn to flight basic tutorial to learn how to fly this little craft. Okay, then intermediate instruction tutorial will teach you more about the editor. Any vessels you create here will be lost when you exit. This is just for playing around. I can't launch it. Spacecraft and the store flight instructor Gene Turman will take you through the essential flight controls and instruments required to launch a simple hopper that you built on construction basis. Man. Welcome to the Kerbal Space Center launch facility. I'm Gene Turman, and I will teach you the basics of piloting a spacecraft. I trust that you already checked the basic instruction tutorial. If not, I recommend you do so before going through this one. Today we will do a run through of all of the important controls for your spacecraft. Our little hopper from your basic instruction lesson with Werner may not have all of them. But we'll do a run through once and see how it flies. Ready to go, press next. Flying a spacecraft is all about being in control of a generally very chaotic situation. As a pilot, your main flight controls will affect the pitch, yaw, and roll of the ship. Listen to that first. All other controls will be locked until they're needed or this tutorial is closed. Pitch, yaw, and roll are the three directions you will rotate your craft. To help you visualize these, we're taking the holiday snap of the hopper below. That's up, let's see. Okay, I actually didn't move that. Yeah, okay. You can control your ship's rotation using these controls. By controlling pitch. Oh, you yaw and roll together. You can keep the ship in a controlled flight. Try it now. Notice an entire in the lower right. Okay. On the lower left side, you should provide controlled input. Throttle plus pitch, yaw and roll are the main controls you need to master for a successful crash-free flight. We'll step over the throttle control for now as this vessel has no need for it. Don't worry, I'll explain it another time when it's of use. Remember that all these controls have limited amount of effectiveness, so bigger or heavier ships will probably respond much more sluggishly to the controls than a little small one. It's also good to keep in mind that as stages are separated from the ship, it will become lighter, and this will usually make it easier to control. Such as the rest of the flight controls. In flight, all the planning input into the staging sequence of your ship comes into play. From launch to the final deployment of the descent parachutes, you can control the activation of several of the ship's parts by activating stages. Space is the launch and activate units and stage. Notice the stage indicator in the lower left corner. It shows the currently active stage. Since we haven't launched yet, it's showing the first stage is active. I have your staging controls locked for now, so the staging indicator is glowing purple. One more thing on staging. If a staging setup is tall as strife or you change your mind about something, you can add the stage sequence on the fly. Pun intended. You can go back to the assembly facility. Oh my gosh, so many things! An important part of flying is knowing how the ship is oriented and where it is going. That's why a good pilot is always aware of the ship's altitude, where it is pointing, its velocity vector, where it is going. These aren't always the same direction, and as your skills improve, you should pick up on these. Man. The big route instrument on the lower center of the screen is called the nav ball. The device sums up most of the critical information needed for proper depth 3 flight. Here you see the ship's nose in relation to the horizon. When you're pointing straight up, it's easily visible as a line between blue sky and the brown ground, as well as its heading, compass, bearing, and speed. Also, the right hand indicate things like your turn velocity vector. Oh my gosh. To unlock the flight controls need to be truly for launch. At any time you may press escape to pause the game. In the pause menu you can restart the flight or end this tutorial. Choose return to it for now. Get yourself prepared and hit the space and ready to launch. Jump into our hopper is only a solid rocket motor. So there's no throttle control, that's why we didn't review the throttle here. Make sure to fly a nice high arc and enjoy the flight. Let me know, you can practice, try practicing some of the controls we just discussed. I pitch you all on rolls. Keep an eye on the parachute icon on the staging list. It shows you how safe turn environment is for shoots. Once it goes red, I want it to deploy until it's clear, and then even if you stage it. I realize this to be too much to learn on one go, so if you fear that, you can always press the stay up and click the view T bindings for a reminder. You can also see by the tour enjoying the trip in the lower right corner. Anyways, I'll hang around and watch and let you know when it's safe to stage or shoot. I don't know if they're enjoying it or if they're terrified. Your 7 millimeter is burned out, you're passing something the highest point in your flight, and your speed is low enough that's safe to deploy the parachute just so now before you speed up and then hit the surface. And now we sit back and enjoy the descent. Man, I feel this game would be cool if I just had the wear stuff to, man, maybe to, I don't know, want to deal with all of this, because I don't know if I do. There's maybe too much here. Oh wow, that's neat. You're curious, aren't you? The IVA button over each see a ship from each has own perspective. Now in this mode, your flight UI is less instruments since most of them to be found on the top of itself. And in turn, if you right click, you want to toggle between mouse, select, and interact modes, so you can look around without mouse, touch, and interact mode, so you can look around without having to hold down the right mouse button, try looking around, clicking on things. The engineering department says there are many devices in here that actually work. They seem to be quite proud of that, in fact. When there are multiple retrieved and set through the POV of them using the VET, return to external view by pressing C. Man, what if each one of these things actually did something like, oh my gosh. You successfully you survived your first twit flight. When you're landing on the splashdown turbine and not in training, you can point the mouse just above the altimeter and click the recover button on the panel that slides down to ask to be picked up. I also unlocked the true hatch, so if you feel like going out for a water or swimming, you can click the EVA, extra vehicular activity button that will pop up when your mouse over the portion of the turbo you want to take for a walk and use it just for fun or touch a surface sample. This includes today's lesson. That's the training. You press escape to access the pals menu and scenario to return to there. Wow. Simple orbital flight, perhaps. Man, this game is maybe just too much for me. Then they say, like, there are many devices in here. I don't know what ones really can be activated. I mean... Might you see an explosion? Oh, I heard something. Wow, okay. What happens when I hit the ground? That's funny. Yeah, this video is gonna be ending soon enough. Gosh. Oh, at least I have these tutorials, so I mean, that was, you know, amen to that. Praise the Lord. Because, yeah, phew. Like, Mamma Mia. Yeah, this is just insane. But yeah, wow. Okay, well, hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you found it entertaining. Thanks for watching if you watched. Thanks for watching all the way through if you watched. Yeah, hope you enjoyed. That's something out of it. Hope I showed you some, hope it was entertaining. I showed you some stuff to see if you want the game or not. Yeah, and just, yeah, hope you all doing all. Just waiting until it's 30 minutes. I like to end it then. But yeah, just, thank you once again. And, have a great day. Bye-bye for now.